Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Treasure Your Divination. So today's video, I just wanted to kind of answer a few tarot questions, all right? And this is a tarot deck, in case you do not know what that is. And I'm just going to give a little bit of information about tarot. Since this is a divination learning channel, I figured tarot would be the perfect subject to start with, okay? So I am going to cleanse my cards, my energy in my space, even though I'm not technically doing a reading. I just want to kind of explain that a little bit as well. So some people, when they use tarot or any type of divination, they'll cleanse their space with sage. It's just like sage is kind of like a cleansing type of herb, plant, botanical, whatever you want to call it. So that all depends on the person. Sage is very strongly associated with like Native American uh, traditions and that as well. But for me, I find that sage also goes very well with like my own beliefs. And I just find that the smoke of sage actually really does help cleanse. It regains my energy and it just makes me kind of feel at peace, eases anxiety, and all that kind of stuff. So that's something I am working on right now. You can kind of see the smoke here. I'm trying to light my sage right now through my candle because it's easier for me to use a candle. All right, so we're going to cleanse the cards, the energy in the space, cleanse the cards, the energy in the space, cleanse the cards, the energy in the space, cleanse my energy and my space, cleanse my energy and my space, cleanse my energy and my space. And normally I'll be like, oh, spirit guide, guardian angels, ancestors, I ask for you to join me in this reading today. Because I do public readings, I also do personal readings, right? So with that being said, that is kind of my little bit introduction there. So a little bit more information about tarot for people. What can I tell you? So tarot cards are a deck of 78 cards, okay? There are 4 main suites, the minor arcana, a major arcana, or sometimes they're called high arcana decks. The main suites are cups, wands, swords, and pentacles, all right? So like the Queen of Wands here. This is a high arcana. This is wands. This is wands. Swords here. So there's wands, swords. Let's see if I can find any cups or something. Yeah, we got cups here. And then we have, what are we looking for? Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles here. So pentacles. So I'm going to move this to the side for a second here so we can see these cards. So there's different suites, okay? So the suites would be pentacles, cups, swords, and wands, okay? And they are numbered 1 to 10, and then 1 being called an ace card. And then, so the 1 would be like beginning, the 10 would technically be completion. However, they also have pages, knights, queens, and kings, right? So it's a little bit different from your normal deck of cards, okay? Then the high or major arcana, depending on what you want to call it, has the numbers 0 to 21, all named example like 0 is the Fool, or the Lovers. In this instance, we have the Chariot, we have Death and Rebirth. So it's all interesting names, okay? We also have like the Moon, the Sun, the Hermit, those kind of names, right? So anyways, the higher arcana can also represent the zodiac signs directly, as well as like planetary placements, okay? And each suite of the minors also represent an element. So the Queen of Pentacles actually represents the earth sign element. The King of Cups represents the water sign element. The Queen of Wands, or the Wands, right, would represent the fire signs. And then finally, the swords would represent the air signs, okay? So with that, that also is a breakdown here. So air is like verbal, mental, that kind of communication. Queen of Wands. So the wands means like passion and desires. Okay, the cups mean like emotionality, emotional love, that kind of stuff. And then the pentacles meaning like physical abundance, monetary gain, or just like stability. Okay, so that's kind of important for you to know. And then what else do I have here? So where did the tarot cards originate from? Tarot cards were originally made as a game. I believe it may have been in Italy. I'm not too sure. Following cartomancy on original playing cards from tarot cards have always been around for like hundreds of years and have always been adapted off different main versions, right? So the Rider Waite, I believe, is one of the main versions that everybody normally learns on, right? This deck is not that exact type of deck, but there is a specific deck that a lot of people do learn. I did not learn on that deck. I found that deck a little bit confusing, but like I do have versions of that deck or that deck. But that is the regular mentioned above with 78 cards. Okay. So, who uses tarot cards? Tarot is open for anybody who is willing to learn. Many people that believe and metaphysical or spiritual do use tarot. However, Christians, Catholics, and any religion really believe are more than welcome to use tarot. Tarot is not gatekept, okay? It may be associated with certain types of beliefs to a lot of other people, but it is not actually gatekept, and anybody is able to use tarot, right? Is tarot evil? So, this is something that some people may believe, and I do kind of want to set a little bit of the record straight here. Just like all forms of divination, obviously, you would have to be protective of your energy, and it's really up to you whether you believe it or not, okay? I always say in my readings, time is fluid in all forms of divination because it is. Not everything is going to be right in the here and now, especially when you're doing like a public style reading. But energies can change. When you're doing a reading of tarot, it can very much be in the current energy. They can change at a whim. People have free will, including you, which means people do have free will. People have choices, right? You have options. You can choose what you want in life. But with that being said, those choices also can change the energy as well as your time. Okay. So that's something I do like to let people know. But it is also important for you as a reader to understand that kind of energy. Okay. So, no, not necessarily. But one thing people need to understand about tarot, is energy. I already stated that. It's an energy working tool at the end of the day. Okay. So, there are some people that do use tarot to connect with spirituals and other world connections. And there are people that are just like tarot readers. They just read tarot, they don't use it as a tool for psychic kind of connections, right? Is what I'm getting into. Um, with that also, there are psychic mediums, is which I'm kind of getting at, who use it as a tool, and they also use it to get more answers when they're connecting with the beyond. So some people, when they're reading, they may be able to see something like in a clairvoyance kind of way, being shown something to them while they are reading, or they may get messages above and beyond what the cards are showing. That is something that I seem to get a lot with the tarot, right? Um, so tarot initially, no, is not evil. It's actually a card game that was created many, many, many years ago. Kind of like a party game or a parlor game. It doesn't mean though you shouldn't obviously protect yourself, especially if you're trying to use tarot in more of a psychic medium aspect. I have one rule when I use my tarot cards, and that is I always sage them. As I am a psychic medium, as many people are, everybody has the ability. And I'm not just reading into the cards and the energy. Sometimes I'm getting messages from people in my family or guides or ancestors or wherever, right? To me, tarot is one of the less fearful, like I find tarot less fearful for me, types of divination to be used. I have been using tarot for over 20 years. I was self taught. I have an interest in tarot since I was very young, seeing my mom's tarot cards, right? They're one of the very few types of divination that I do not really see any harm in. However, I still take the precautions because of who I am. However, if you're just interested in reading tarot, I mean, obviously, I would still suggest a sage, but not everybody is looking to use tarot the way I may use tarot. For example, when I use tarot, I'm seeking answers, and sometimes I get answers beyond. I'm shown visions and everything else. So that is kind of everyone's difference is, right? Um, are there any specific decks you would advise for beginners? I would advise a Rider Rate deck or a deck that has kind of meanings written on them or descriptions. This will help you learn the meanings, but you also will be able to intuitively learn, right? Um, I find it's not always helpful for me because I am more or less an intuitive reader. However, it'd be very beneficial for a beginner. Sometimes when I am being lazy, it does help. And I would not recommend decks that don't have cups, swords, pentacles, or wands, just because it can be confusing even to a more advanced reader. Sometimes if you're trying to learn tarot and then you have something that's not matching up to it, it may cause a little bit of confusion, right? With that, but that's just my own personal opinion. That can be up to the reader, right, for their decision. The choice is obviously yours at the end of the day. Um, Another question is there anything that we should know about tarot decks? And yes, there's one thing that most people do not know or they don't talk about. And this is something I really would like to discuss to let new people into tarot know. So I've personally noticed just feeling the energy off of different oracle and tarot decks. The energy of the decks itself may also affect the reader's ability to connect with the deck and read the deck. I once upon a time had a deck of cards that I had a hell of a time connecting with, and I could never feel connected to the deck at all. I just had no connection, okay? And I wish I could do readings with it, but there was no connection. For me, it's very important to be able to feel a connection, so an energy exchange with a deck. Um, and with that deck, I just couldn't, right? So for me, I feel the energy flow for the deck and me. So and I'm able to do a reading a little bit more precise than if I'm able to not able to connect to a deck. So one thing I have realized is certain decks carry certain tones of energy. Some authors of decks will have a book that is supposed to accompany your tarot deck. Some authors change the meaning of the tarot cards just a little bit and give them a little more depth. This can also affect the energy of the cards unbeknownst to the reader. I have discovered this myself. There are such things as light energy decks, dark energy decks, and balanced energy decks. This means some people may have more complications connecting to a specific type of deck. Now, this doesn't mean whatever like the deck light or dark. Sorry, the pictures don't always mean if the deck is light or dark. Um, Light or dark decks kind of are variants to person as well. Okay. Um, I've had decks that are beautiful, gorgeous, and like the pictures are very like light looking, right? And they're actually more darker energy than the pictures show. Okay. So to me, dark energy does not necessarily mean negative energy. That is something I want to get across. Very important. It's more of a deep dive into the uncomfort zone that a lot of people don't want to talk about. It's more about self reflection and the ability to look within and to become comfortable in the uncomfortable. Pretty much, it's walking through the darkness to see the light, is kind of what those decks represent, more or less. Now, the more balanced decks are kind of a balance between the light energy and the dark energy. And that technically is what a normal tarot deck should be like, balanced. So the Rider Waite, balanced. Um, and those learning decks to me are more of a balanced type of deck. Light energy decks feel lighter than a normal deck or a balanced deck. It doesn't necessarily mean that the meanings have changed, but it does feel lighter, not as heavy. The pictures may not be as blunt in your face or as heavy as the Rider Waite or Learning decks. That is what I mean by light energy. Some authors can also use the light energy kind of concept to change the tarot cards just a little bit to more have a reflection of a positive aspect or transformation that you want to see. The perfect example of this is I have my beginner deck. It does talk a little bit about the uncomfortable. However, it is a very light energy type of deck. It does carry some dark themes, but most of it is just light energy. And it was the first deck I've ever actually had. And it was more like an oracle slash tarot deck combined into one. However, that deck is out of print and near impossible to find. I do have the cards and I will show them one day on this channel. Just currently, I don't have them right beside me. This whole concept I'm talking about is not as heavily noted with tarot cards as they are with oracle cards. Okay. However, I've had some of the most gothic, realist kind of looking cards in the tarot feel lighter than oracle cards that may have the same theme or concept. But this is part of all personal perspective, right? And experience and understanding. And what I have experienced over 20 years. It is also something that I have to talk with other people around me that use tarot to see if they have ever felt those kind of energies or experiences. And those that I have talked to, which is very few, far in between, have also had those experiences with tarot decks, but more so oracle decks. Okay. So, with that, I just wanted to inform you on that. So it doesn't mean negativity with a darker deck, or it doesn't mean positivity with a lighter deck. And the neutral doesn't mean like it's going to go well. The neutral is very balanced, right? Kind of energy. So I'm just curious if there's any kind of information that anybody would like to know more of about tarot. Please leave it in the comments below, and I would be more than willing to answer them. Also, um, another information I'd like to let you know is there are many learning decks. So, what are like sorry, not learning decks, learning books. And if that's something you're interested to know, what are the books that can teach you? There are some very, very good books. I just don't remember the names right now, but I have about 3 or 4 good books. One of them is the Tarot Bible. There's like some that have just tarot spreads in them. And some of them will give you not only the information, but a few spreads and different types of spreads. You don't have to use those spreads to get a reading. You can actually make your own spreads. And that was something I wanted to also mention is with the like what are the books and the spreads that I would recommend for a beginner. Honestly, 3 card pulls are the best ones I can recommend. Past, present, future to start. And then you clarify. And how you would clarify, I'm going to give an example quickly here. Obviously, I'll go over this a little bit more, but let's say we had these 3 cards here, right? So, how I'm going to clarify is I'm going to take ask, the 8 of Swords. What do we clarify the 8 of Swords with, right? And then I'll take 3 cards to clarify. So for the 8 of Swords, we have the Ace of Swords, the 2 of Pentacles in reverse, and then the 3 of Wands in reverse. And I would read that with this card, and then I would read that with this card, and then I would read that with this card. But that's how I learned how to do the tarot and the clarifications. And then I ended up like cross reading the cards and all that. So there is many different ways to read tarot, and there's different spreads. There's even books that teach you how to make your own, and like decks and that as well. So if that's something you're interested in, I might put some links. I do not make anything off those links currently. I might in the future. If I do, I will put a notice of affiliates. That will be on all my videos. Currently, I don't make anything, but if I do in the future, there will be a note for you. And yeah, that's all I really have for you today for the tarot information. We will dive more into it. I'll give more of a little bit of information per card. So there'll be like 3 or 4 cards a week I will talk about just to get us through the deck because there's 78 cards. And while I'm doing this, if you have any kind of questions, then feel free to ask them. And I really appreciate your time today. And thank you so much for watching. And I hope you have a lovely, wonderful, fantastic day wherever you are in the world. And I will see you again soon. Goodbye.